Hi everyone, this is Psychaboutbooks, aka Kelsey. I'm going to be doing a book recap on Crescent City by Sarah J Maas. Just to forewarn everyone, this will have spoilers in it, as I went through and annotated the whole book. It took me hours, if not days. So yes, I will be going over what happens in this book as a recap for anybody that has gotten the third edition that just came out in January 2024. If you want to recap this novel without having to actually read the whole thing and annotate it, such as I did. So again, last warning, spoilers will be inside this video. So this book, as I said, Crescent City by Sarah J Maas, is the first novel in the Crescent City trilogy. Trilogy? I guess I shouldn't say that because it might actually be more than 3 books, so I take it back. In this novel, what actually happens is we meet our main character, Bryce Quinlan. She is a half human, half fae girl. That is our main character. We meet her with her best friend, Danica, who is a wolf shifter, and she is the to-be alpha in the wolf pack that's in their city. She's also the leader of the Pack of Devils, which is a like police kind of criminal stopping group organization, if you will. We learn that they are party goers. They went to the same college together. They were roommates, doing a lot of drugs, drinking a lot, partying a lot. And then one night, Danica is murdered. This completely shatters Bryce's life because not only is Danica murdered, but the Pack of Devils, which is the wolf pack that Danica was the alpha of, was murdered. And it all happens at Bryce's apartment, Bryce and Danica's apartment. So this shatters Bryce Quinlan's life. She then spirals into a very dark web where she's partying all the time, drinking all the time, always going out to the club called the Raven. With that, she continues for about 2 years until murders similar to what happened to Danica happen again. With those murders, that brings the governor, Micah, or the Archangel, who is also known as the governor, out and causes them to need to solve these murders. One piece that I forgot to mention, I apologize, is that when the murder of Danica happens, Bryce is the one that finds the area first. She finds the bodies first, and she finds a demon running away from it. So with that, Bryce chases the demon, ends up finding an angel that's severely wounded. She calls for help. And that is when she first encounters Hunt, or FULLLL, who is a slave, an angel that's a slave, under Micah's control. So jump forward 2 years. I apologize for that mishap. Jump forward 2 years. Murders start happening again. Micah, the governor, who is the Archangel, goes to talk to Bryce Quinlan because she was one of the last people who saw Danica alive, which was a similar murder. And she was there and chased the demon to see who did it. With that, FULLLL comes with her. Along the way, there's some banter. They end up working together trying to solve these murders for who's killing all these people, who the demon is, who's summoning the demon, because demons are from a different world called Hell. They don't live where Bryce and Hunt live. They are flirty, like I said, having good banter back and forth. And then Bryce reveals that she is the cousin of Rune Danon, a prince of the Valbaran Fae. And she reveals that she's his cousin. Later in the book, we find out that she's not. She's actually brother and sister with Rune. But that causes the Autumn King, the Fae Autumn King, to have some type of like stalk or have some type of like importance in what Bryce does. With this, he says, listen, I can't have her running amok. I can't have her being involved in this. So the Autumn King tries to put Rune, her cousin or brother, on the scene with her to live with her. And Bryce says, absolutely not. Like, nope, I haven't talked to him in years. No way is he living with me. So instead, Hunt moves in with Bryce Quinlan. And they're having more funny, lovey banter. As this unfolds, Hunt begins to realize that Bryce really isn't a partier anymore. She isn't this crazy wild person, you know, drinking every night, party girl. It's all a facade. And it's all a facade because she feels that way. She feels guilty for not being there when Danica was killed. She feels guilty about being alive while Danica and the Pack of Devils is not. And that's just my interpretation of the book. But even at one point, Hunt in the novel will say, you know, I realized that Quinlan is actually a good person. He calls her Quinlan, not Bryce, but I digress. And that she's actually a good person, and she is. And that softens Hunt's heart to her, because Hunt was previously part of a rebellion against the Asteri, which are the archangels, even higher up than them. I think the Asteri are just Asteri that rule over their planet. Their planet is known as Midgard. So Hunt and Bryce live together. They're talking to one another. Every day they see each other. So this relationship begins to unfold between them. As that goes on, we find that the princes of hell are a little bit involved. That there is a artifact, a Fae artifact known as the Horn, that the princes of hell want, that Micah, the archangel, wants, that the Autumn King wants. And while they are searching for the murderers of Danica and these new ones that happened 2 years later, they also begin to look for the Horn and find this connection between the ancient Fae artifact known as the Horn and these demon appearances and these murders. What the connection is that when somebody summons this type of demon, it then hunts down the Horn, or tries to. So then they begin to think, oh, okay, somebody who is looking for the Horn is involved with these murders. So with that leads us to the middle portion of the book. So at about halfway through this novel, we're learning about the Horn. We're learning about that somebody is trying to find the Horn, this ancient artifact. We also learn about a new party drug that ends up on the street, and it is called synth. Essentially, it's supposed to be synthetic magic, so that it can either give humans like a super strength, or advance the Fae or the shifter strength. Fae and shifters are also called veneer in this novel, so it helps to enhance the veneer. Then Bryce and Hunt are able to work along with Rune. They do meet a few other people along the way, and they work together to connect the dots, all while noticing that Danica, even though she's been gone for 2 years, has been leaving hints and clues along the way for Bryce to connect these dots. So as the story progresses, we find that the synth is being used by veneer or humans. When it is used, especially in high dosages, there is black salt in it, which can be used to summon demons. When that happens, demons do come forth. They can either be the ones murdering the people, murdering the humans, murdering the veneer, or the veneer, if they use too much, they then can turn on themselves and rip themselves to threads. This is what Bryce finds in a video left on Danica's computer. Through this, they then realize that although the demon they're summoning can find the Horn, it is a lot connected to the synth and how the synth summons the demons and is trying to get out onto the street. While this is happening, Hunt does a sneaky deal where he tries to buy this drug from the Viper Queen, which is like a baddish person, does some good deeds, but also is she's part of the meat market. It's almost like the black market, but this book, it's the meat market. So while that happens, Bryce finds out that it is Hunt that is trying to do this deal. Hunt has a halo tattoo across his forehead, which is a binding spell, a slave mark from when he rebelled a long time ago against the Asteri. That was his punishment. He is owned as a slave by Micah, and that controls his power. It really dims it down. So that's why he was pushed to want to get the synth. Bad idea, though. Bad idea, Hunt. If I ever meet him, I'll tell him that. But anyways, that happens. Bryce gets really sad because they were just kind of getting together. They were just schmoozing one another, having more flirting, some more sexual activities. And so with that, it really does break Bryce's heart. All of this comes to a head at the summit. The summit is a meeting of all the high powers in the city. The Asteri go, the archangels go, the governors go, the Autumn King, Jessica, who is the owner of a gallery that Bryce works at, goes. So all these bigwigs go. It all comes to a head there. Hunt's there as a slave, not talking to Bryce. Rune is there for the Autumn King, not talking to anyone, even though Rune can mind speak, and he does talk to Hunt about Bryce. And then they do learn that with the failed attempt at Hunt trying to get the synth, he is then sold to Sandriel, which is a very terrible archangel who basically tortures people, tortures anyone, treats Hunt very poorly, and he is just in this really terrible spot, mentally, physically. During this summit meeting, Micah got pulled away, ironically. He got pulled away to talk to Bryce. It is told that Micah, in the story, it's told that Micah actually is the one that has been leading Bryce along, that has been leading Hunt along, all because Micah was the one that was looking for the horn. Micah leaked the synth. Micah was looking for the horn. He found out that Danica was on his trail, so he injected her with synth, and she ended up killing the pack of devils and herself, which is so heartbreaking. She then goes along to find out that Micah is there to use Bryce, because before Danica died, Bryce and Danica got really messed up on drugs, on alcohol, and went and got tattoos. And Bryce has a tattoo down her back. And it is revealed that the tattoo is actually the horn. Somehow Danica crushed up the horn, mixed it with some tattoo ink, and got it tattooed on Bryce's back. And the only person that can use the horn is a Starborn, which Bryce reveals that she does have the Starborn gift, but she did not want to tell anybody because that was Rune's chosen one status. Rune was the one that was supposed to be the Starborn prince, but actually more than one exists, and it's Bryce and Rune. Through this endeavor, Micah is attacking Bryce, trying to kill her, trying to use the horn, trying to open the gates to hell so that he can have the power, so that he can control the city. While fighting, Lahaba, which is a fire sprite, sacrifices herself to give Bryce time to get to the Godslayer rifle, which is a Godslayer rifle. It's a big gun made out of gold that's able to kill archangels. She uses this to shoot Micah in the head, killing him, only after Micah has already used her back to open the portals to hell. Through this whole scenario, Bryce is able to kill Micah. She's able to defeat him, but now all the portals to hell are open. So not only has she done that, but now she has to go and try to not only close the portals, but save people. There are like bomb shelters in this world where the high fae and the higher up veneer are able to go in there and shut the doors. But there's supposed to be a time, 5 minutes, the horns beep and they get a few minutes for people to get in. But nobody was waiting. Nobody was holding the doors. They were not allowing lesser veneer. They were not letting humans in. So Bryce went to the meadows, Wispedale Meadows, I think it's called. Don't quote me on that though. But that's where all the humans live. And she went there to protect them. No one else went. Sabine, who is control of the wolves, told them to stand down. However, Ethan, which is one of the pack of devils brothers, said, no, I'm going to help Bryce. So he goes. The witches, who are under the rule of Hypaxia, who's the new queen of the witches, says, witches, get airborne. We need to go. We need to help them. So everybody is working to help them. Even the Viper Queen sends out some of her goons to help the humans because those are the ones that are weakest. There's children there, and that's where Bryce knows she needs to be. During this, all the portals are still open. And since Bryce opened them, she thinks that she can close them. While trying to do this, the Asteri decide to solve the problem on their own. How they do that is they choose to bomb the city. They think bombing the city will kill all the demons that are coming through the gates. That's part of what the trouble is with the gates being open. It leads you straight to hell, and all the demons are now flocking into the city, into Lunathian, into their world, killing innocents. So that's why we need to stop them. The Asteri say, oh, the best way to do that is to just bomb them. Let's just obliterate an entire continent, if you will. While this is happening, Hypaxia frees Hunt from the halo. The halo was originally put on by a witch. So since Hypaxia is a witch, she's able to take it off Hunt. Hunt, Rune, Deck, Flynn, Therian, all the people that have been there to help Bryce along the way, jump onto a plane or a helicopter, fly over to where Bryce is to try and help her before the missile hits. It comes to the peak, if you will, that Hunt is able to shelter Bryce by jumping out of an aircraft and landing on Bryce because he's an angel and he has wings, to protect her from the brimstone missile. In that happening, he is essentially obliterated himself. He is torn to shreds. Bryce is sobbing. So what she does is she gets over to the plaque that's on all the gates and calls for somebody to help her so she can make the drop. Because if she makes the drop, the first light or the power that comes from that, she will then be able to use to save Hunt. The only person that answers is from the Bone Quarter, which is another gate, and it's Danica. So Danica is with Bryce. Even though Danica is gone and she shouldn't be able to, she helps Bryce to do her drop. What the drop means is Bryce is coming into her full power as Veneer. She is solidifying the fact that she does have power and she will have an immortal life for as long as, centuries to live. And with that, she gets the first light so she can try and save Hunt. The problem being that you need an anchor when you do the drop. Danica is not a real person, so she cannot anchor Bryce. So Bryce goes so deep into her power that while watching it, nobody thinks that she'll be able to get back to the top, back to life, to restart her heart. Danica uses the last of her life force, so she essentially kills herself, again, lack of a better term, to help Bryce get that final jump back up to reality. By doing this, not only does Bryce make the drop, she also is able to save Hunt because he hadn't passed over yet, so she was able to heal all of his wounds. She was also able to close the gates by doing this. So Bryce essentially was able to save the whole city, save everyone. People that had already died and passed on, she could not save them, but anybody that was on the cusp, her first light was able to radiate across Lunathian and to save those people. With that, all Bryce wanted to do was to go home. So at the end, her and Hunt is free. He doesn't have the halo. Bryce took the drop. She is in her full power. She has come to realize that Micah was the mastermind behind everything. He was the reason why Synth leaked. He was the reason, and remember, Micah is the governor. He is the archangel that watches over Lunathian. So he was in charge of the Synth leaked onto the market, onto partygoers. He was the cause of Danica dying. He gave her the synth in a high dose that caused her to kill the pack of devils and to kill herself eventually. He was the reason why people were looking for the horn. He basically was the mastermind, and Bryce figured this out, finally understood what happened to Danica, understood mostly why it happened to her, and was able to go home with Hunt to their apartment with Sinks. I can't think of what her little puppy thing is called. But she gets home and she's able to relax. And that is how the book ends. There is I want to say it's an epilogue. Let me look really. Yeah, there's an epilogue at the end where it's Jessica actually talking to Adis, which is a prince of the pit, and talking about Bryce coming into her power and how things are about to get interesting. So that is how book number 1 ends. that's pretty much everything that happens. A few other plot lines. We learn about Therian. He is a mer, or like a mermaid, a mer person, a water folk, if you will. And he is engaged to the River Queen's daughter. We learn that he doesn't want to do that. The fight within himself. We learn about Rune, how Rune is the chosen one, the crown prince, how he's actually a party goer, how he heard this terrible reading from the Oracle, which was about him being the last of his bloodline for the veneer, for the Fae veneer. He then gets engaged to Hypaxia, not of his free will, but his father forces it. Hypaxia is the witch queen. Thought process is to strengthen their bonds. Who else do we learn about? We learn more about Rune, about his rebellion that failed, how he was in love with the woman who had run the rebellion, Sahar, I believe her name was. She has since died. She died after the rebellion. We met Lahaba, who was a fire sprite who worked under Jessica in the gallery, who then we did lose during the fight against Micah. She did die by getting covered in water. Who else did we learn about? We learned about Deck and Flynn, who are both high up Fae, who are best friends with Rune, who all live with Rune. We learned about Ethan. Again, Ethan is a wolf who is the younger brother of Connor, which is one of the pack of devils who died in the beginning of the book. We learn about him and his troubles, trying to figure out where he should be, how it's not fair that his brother died. So there is a lot of good character development in the book. I didn't want to go through all of it just because I like this to be kind of brief. But overall, 10 out of 10. I love this book. To say that I've read it 3 times would not be a lie. I've read it 3 times and I would probably read it again. So if you have any questions, you can comment, or yeah, that's the book. And be sure to subscribe to my channel, which sounds really weird to say because I didn't really think about it until right now that I have a channel. But subscribe to my channel because I do plan to make more recaps, especially with more books coming out in 2024. And also you can follow me on Instagram at Psychaboutbooks, and then you can see more highlights and more things that I post about the books I read. So thank you.